Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. When it comes to content, you have to have a strategy. And if you have a strategy, what we have found is your confidence level increases and your execution, your EQ, your execution quotient goes through the roof. So we've got Hillary Gale with us today. She is going to walk. She's a marketing expert. I'm also very, very grateful she had me on her magnificent podcast yesterday. And so we're doing what a lot of us do, which is a podcast swap. She talked about some super cool stuff that I want to bring to all of you. So Hillary, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm so excited to be here.
Now, I want to take every second of this show to pick your brain. All right. Your strategy when it comes to content marketing is different than what a lot of other people will do. They'll create templates, or they will want to just go ahead and just start pumping out content, but you make advisors take pause. Tell everybody what you want everybody to start with.
Yeah, so I always start with a survey of the audience. Now, the most ideal people to survey are your current clients that you love working with. Now, some advisors have issues with compliance there. So if that's an issue, it's also fine to identify, who are some people in your network that embody your ideal clients, but you maybe don't work with yet. But I love it when advisors, or I also work with financial coaches, can go straight to their ideal clients and say, can you answer these questions for me? I'm trying to create better content and your input would be super valuable.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit more deeply, because I'm the Chief Compliance Officer here at ProudMouth. And I don't actually see a compliance issue with this in any way, shape, or form, because I'm not using direct client testimonials from asking this question. I'm just gleaning data. Do you agree with that, or am I off?
I totally agree with that. So where I've run into problems with this, and it totally depends on compliance department to compliance department, the really persnickety client or compliance departments, they want you to ask. So if you're going to be surveying your clients, they want you to ask for first and last name. But a lot of times in these questions, we don't necessarily want people to feel like they're easily identified. We want them to be honest and giving honest answers. And so I really don't like to ask for first and last name, but the compliance departments want to have the data on record just in case somebody makes a complaint or leaves something that sounds like it could be a testimonial or a review. So that's the only problem that I've kind of seen. Another workaround is, of course, to just ask for first and last name and then hand the data over to your compliance department. So that's really the only thing.
So you help your clients take this baseline survey. Do you feed your clients with the questions? Can you maybe give us a couple of examples for our listeners to be able to use?
Yes, absolutely. And I actually have an article about this that I can link to the show notes with some question ideas for different sections. Yeah. And so I like to break the questions up into a couple different categories. So we have a couple of demographic questions to help us build an ideal client profile and really just understand who's answering, right? And then we also have some questions that get to the heart of why they want to work with a financial advisor. So what is it that they're looking for? What do they appreciate about their financial advisor, so that the advisor then knows and can create content that really shows what their benefit is. I also like to ask questions about, what do clients wish they knew more about when it came to their finances? And this is powerful on a lot of different levels. So it gives ideas for content, and it also reveals to the advisor where there might be gaps between what they're giving their clients and what their clients are still kind of looking for. So those are just a few examples, but I'm happy to share more if you want.
Well, no, because I want to drive people to your article. So absolutely going to do that. So there's the teaser there for everybody. And if you're not following Hillary on social, you really need to be doing that. A lot of times, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Advisors are actually terrified of asking their clients these questions because they're afraid they're going to say something bad,
Mhm.
or the advisors know that they're not doing a great job of communicating. Do you have any words of advice to help people get over that hump?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one is it's all a mindset game, right? You kind of have to prepare yourself. And I have had several clients who have gone through this process and they've had those exact same fears. And then when they actually send out the surveys and they get the feedback from their clients, they actually hear really great things. And so it's the opposite, of what they were
Yeah.
afraid of. But what I like to do is, and I help my clients craft the emails or the social media
Oh,
posts that they're going to send out asking people to take the surveys. And so I really like to position it as a benefit to the clients to answer the questions, right? So this is going to help you have more of a say in how we work together. This is going to help you have a say in the resources I create for you, right? And things like that. And so when you pitch it like that, like you are trying to be
mhm.
the best advisor for them possible, people are going to share their ideas with you and they're going to be nice about it too.
I would say, and I agree with that 1,000,000%. I mean, there are a couple of overall surveys that advisors have used in the past. Julie Littlechild has one called Absolute Engagement. Tom has got one from Practice Intel. They're all magnificent to really find out a little bit more about what your clients are thinking. I like yours too because I like how laser focused it is, because we take this data and then you start creating a strategy. Talk about that.
Yes. So the idea actually for starting with the survey came from someone who came to me and asked me to create an ideal client profile for them. And I was sitting down, I was thinking, okay, they've told me what their ideal client is, but I'm kind of just making this up and I don't really like how that feels. And
Yeah.
so what I like to do after I get the data or the answers from the survey is then turn that into an ideal client profile or two, usually no more than two. I think having more than two kind of ends up diluting the whole strategy. But you turn that into an ideal client profile, and then you go back and you look at the answers that you got, and you start to develop, what are my pillars or buckets of content going to be? What are the 4 things that I'm going to talk about every week or every month that people want to hear about? So you kind of start to develop your different content ideas and things like that. One thing that I didn't mention that I should have, one section within the survey is asking people where they hang out online and asking people where they go
Ah.
to answer questions that they have about their finances or where they used to go before they started working with a financial advisor. And so that influences the strategy as well. Because if you think, well, I'm just going to, start creating YouTube videos and show up on YouTube, but your clients are actually really into reading content rather than watching content, your energy would be better spent maybe writing blog posts or things like that, or writing
Yeah.
email newsletters or things like that. So that's the other thing is surveying your clients kind of gives you an insight into where you should be putting your energy, because there's so many options when you set out to
Mhm.
create content, and you certainly don't need to be doing all of them.
I love repeating this Proudmouthian statement, which is, marketing has fundamentally changed. You have to market to your ideal client and target market in the media they prefer while they're there with organic content. And a lot of people don't know where their ideal clients are. Now, you and I actually, because we're experts in this, have a very good idea, depending on the answers to those questions, where that target market's going to be. But it's even better when you ask and engage, because that will remind the audience to go there for that. Now, you used a term that we have never heard on the show before, and it's 400 and I don't know how many episodes, and 80 episodes now. You referred to pillar content.
Mm.
Can you define that?
Yeah, so pillar content I think of as kind of your long form content. So it's where you spend the most of your energy when you're creating content. Um, and maybe you can add on to this, but I've really identified 3 different options for pillar content that advisors can choose from. One is blogging and spending a lot of time doing strategic blogs, maybe making use of SEO and doing written content.
Mm.
Another one is podcasting, of course, and now 2 of them are really kind of related. The third option has always been doing YouTube, kind of more in depth YouTube episodes. and developing a YouTube channel. Now, of course, we see a lot of people who are podcasting also adding in video. So they're really doing the two. So those are the three that I've identified. And then once you have your long form content created, maybe you do one piece of long form content per week. That makes it so much easier to show up in other places that you market, whether that be social media or your email list or whatever it might be. So I would love to ask you, Matt, actually, if you think I'm missing anything, if there are other long form types of content that advisors make use of.
There are, and thank you for pitching that back, even though before I get there, I just really want to highlight everything you just said there. We've supported everything over 400 and some odd episodes, right? And this is one of the reasons I really wanted you on the show, not just to make us feel like we're not losing our minds, which by the way is very helpful and we appreciate that. It's because I think financial services professionals really need to understand that we are a unified front. All of us are saying the same things in this world of marketing. And you, as the advisor or the financial services professional, should find somebody to work with that you feel a genuine connection with. And I'm hoping many of you are going to get a genuine connection with Hillary on this on the show. Okay, so there's two other pieces of content that we think from a pillar content perspective, we just call it long form content, but I like pillar, which is webinars and seminars, right? And so what a lot of advisors don't understand is that fixed 2-hour presentation that many of them are doing through, seminar companies, like White Glove out there that provides you with all of that content. Oh my God, Hillary, you can take one of those slides and turn that into a month's worth of content. So that's where I really want you to go from here. So now I have this long form content. I'm posting that long form content. We talk about our atomic content method here, which is to chop it up in a whole bunch of little pieces. Where do you stand with all of that?
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you say webinars and seminars, because I think I would actually slot those a little bit differently in my kind of idea of where content fits, and maybe we can align here. So I would see those more, and yes, they give great content ideas. I would see those almost more as lead magnet mechanisms, right? You still have to drive people to those things, where I see, the three, long form that I identified as people can find those anywhere, right? But the seminars and the webinars, they're not, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't see them being quite as regular as maybe a weekly blog post or a weekly podcast episode that you publish. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I 100% agree with you. That specificity of that definition. Yes, seminars and webinars do not qualify in that. So you said blogs, video or audio, podcasts. I support that wholeheartedly.
Right. So it's like the ongoing kind of actions that you take at, whether it's once a week, once a month, biweekly, whatever it might be. Then the other pieces that I see that can be broken out from that are, of course, your social media posts and then your email newsletters as well. And then the fourth piece of this is those lead magnets. So whether you have a webinar that you do recurring, a seminar, if you have an ebook people can download, a quiz people can take, there's lots of different ways to move people from the two top of funnel, either the pillar content or the social media, into your email list, which is really where you want them to be. And you and I have talked about this before, Matt.
Well, we spent time on your podcast talking about this, is that owned audience. And let's deconstruct that strategy just a little bit more. My audience has heard me talk about this before. Tell me how you feel about the social media component and then moving them into something that is yours, that you can directly get them to the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel.
So I see the social media component as a way to really build those, to maybe get your first touch point with your audience, right? And then I've heard a lot of people, they really only market on social media, and that's great for some people. But I also think you lose a lot of opportunity to turn your audience on social media into booked discovery calls, which is should be the goal with most marketing,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I see social media as an opportunity to share a really valuable resource that you've created that people have to give you their email address in exchange to. And then you can nurture them and ask for the book discovery call once they've said yes to a deeper relationship with you. So I'm not sure if I'm completely answering your question. Maybe I need you to ask it again, but
Well, no, I love where you went with that, actually. So I think it's very interesting to hear, because I think a lot of people don't understand. They're like, well, I've got 50,000 people on social media. Not all 50,000 people see your stuff. You and I know that. We've talked about that before. But getting them into your own audience for the email so that you can get a real nurture sequence, whatever call to action you want, download my white paper, book a call, come to a workshop, buy my book,
mhm.
whatever, smaller barriers to entry so that people can really start buying from you. And I don't think we talk about that enough when it comes to the sales and marketing journey. Our goal is to have you make these incremental trusting steps. And one of the most important trusting steps is to give me your email and your contact information. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's a misconception out there that if you ask people to take too many steps, they're going to get tired of hearing from you,
Mm,
but it's actually the opposite. If you ask them to take too big of a step too soon, they're not going to say yes to that step, and then they're just going to forget about you and move on. But if you can continually get them to want to engage with you by providing that valuable content in various ways. So if they're seeing you on social media and they're seeing you in their email inbox, they're going to become really familiar with you. And then when they are ready to take that next step, then they're going to be like, oh, light bulb. Matt, has been top of mind for me because I see his name all the time. He's the person I want to work with.
yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to use a real life example with what you had just said there with asking for too much too quickly. um, a lot of my friends, in fact, I just did a social media post today of a bunch of my friends who've written books that are really just remarkable. And so I have been looking up different ways to market yourself as an author, because we have a 9 podcast growth techniques that we take our clients through in the client journey. And one of them is writing a book based off of the content you've created on your podcast. And so I had signed up for this thing. And the first email that I got was for me to watch a 40-minute video. And I was like, dude, I was like, and I actually emailed them. Of course, they didn't respond, but I emailed back and said, I put in my email address and you're asking for 40 minutes of my time. So it really isn't. And I don't like necessarily entirely using dating analogies, but I think it's wildly applicable here. It's, screw that. We'll use a cooking analogy, right? So let's say you're making lasagna, right? You don't throw, it in the oven for 5 minutes, pull it out and think that you're gonna be able to eat it, right? No, you have to slow cook the lasagna. It takes time. You have to let things percolate and simmer. You have to do that with your content marketing strategy too, because if you don't, then you're asking for too much. The dating analogy is so many people go from, hi, how you doing, to, we're married now.
Right.
And they've never dated. They never found out anything about their people or anything like that. So, all right. So one of the other reasons why I really wanted you on the show, one, is because I think you're brilliant and I love what you do. But the second reason is because you and I share the same passion for helping people in our industry motivate themselves to start doing this.
Mm.
So do you have any tips or suggestions for our audience on how to eat this elephant and begin the process of creating a great content marketing strategy?
Yeah, and actually what I'm going to share is probably the opposite of what you and I have been talking about this entire time. And it's to start with one thing. It's to realize that your marketing funnel needs to have multiple components. But if you need to spend a few months doing just one thing before you add in the next thing, that's going to get the momentum going and it's going to get you excited and you're going to cover a lot of ground so that then you can add on the next thing when you have, you know, when you've built more time to figure out your process for the first thing, or maybe you felt comfortable outsourcing part of that. So you freed up some time and now you can add on the next thing, which might be an email newsletter. It might be more social posts or something like that. And the other thing And this is something that I've really had to embody myself as a business owner is, and also being a former teacher, is B plus is what you should always aim for when it comes to content marketing, because that's what's going to get it published and that's what's going to get it out there. Your content does not need to be A plus to do really, really well and to impact people and to result in those book discovery calls. People just want to see the authentic you. And I think for most people, B plus is pretty good.
Oh boy, sister, if I had a B plus average when I was in college or in high school, that might have changed some stuff. But I love that. So many people, one of the things that makes for a great financial advisor is they're highly detail oriented and they're really looking for a substantial amount of accuracy, because if not, you and I both know that can really make a big difference in somebody's long-term retirement plans or whatever. Social media is not the same thing. And the other thing that I'm just going to say, and I've said this so many times, is you're not going to go viral. First off, just don't say anything wildly controversial and stupid. If you make a small mistake on social, the B plus level, it's not going to bode negatively for you at all. When it comes to achieving your goals as a business person, why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this?
Yeah, why are you doing this?
It's so funny that you asked that, Matt. I was just kind of thinking in preparation for this call about what is my origin story, And my origin story actually happened. I got started with personal finance in an English classroom my senior year in college. So my undergrad, I majored in English, and huge regrets. Wish I hadn't done that. And so I remember two classes from that final semester. One was a capstone class. It was a French literature, like a 19th century French literature kind of deep dive class. And the second one was personal finance 101. And it was just something that I just took as an elective, just like, oh, I think this would probably be useful. And my dad's a CPA, so he also kind of pushed me to do that. And I remember an afternoon, sitting in this English class, listening to all these English majors, like really arguing over something about this book, and thinking to myself, in a few months, I need to get a job and I need somebody to pay me, and no one is going to pay me, because I have any special insights about this French novel. And on the flip side, I was loving my personal finance class. I was like, oh, I wish I would have majored in finance. I wish I had time to take all the finance classes. And so that really sparked my interest in personal finance. And growing up with a CPA who really cared about his clients and seeing the impact that he made in people's lives and just these lifelong relationships that he formed. When I decided to leave teaching and really start freelancing my writing skills and my audience awareness skills, personal finance was a no-brainer. I love helping financial advisors who are making really great impacts and changing lives connect with their clients. So that's why I'm doing this.
That's fantastic. Well, so you as an English major, my undergrad's in philosophy. So you are in good company, sister. I have to say I enjoyed every minute of it, but it didn't make me very marketable nor hireable.
Right.
Well, if anybody wants to reach out to you, where should they go? What should they do?
Sure. So my website is monetacopy.com. Moneta is spelled Moneta. And Moneta is actually the Roman goddess of money. So that's the reasoning for the name. So monetacopy.com. You can email me at hillary@monetacopy.com. And I am on LinkedIn almost every day. My name there is Hillary Gale Meehan. Meehan is my married last name. So that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. All right. So my favorite question that I don't always get to ask, but I definitely want to ask you is, what should I have asked you that I didn't?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask this question, and I wish I had thought about it beforehand.
I like throwing it in there because everybody, like so many people, like, I knew you were going to ask me that question.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm pretty consistent with that question, but because Hillary, I've done a lot of these, but that doesn't mean that I cover all the bases that my guest wants to cover. And I really don't want to miss something that's important to you.
I think, what do I wish you would have asked me? You know what? I wish we would have had more of a chance maybe to talk about lead magnets, because I think that's such a powerful
Ooh.
part of the marketing funnel that we don't talk about enough. And people are always asking me, what makes a great lead magnet? What makes a great lead magnet? Can I just turn a blog post into a lead magnet? And I think if you're going to spend money on anything in your marketing, it should be a lead magnet. It should be partnering with someone to help you create a really, really great lead magnet, whatever that is, and finding the right person to help you bring it to life. Because I think that is one of the most important pieces of your funnel, is getting people from your audience into your email list.
Well, why don't you give a couple examples of lead magnets?
Okay. So I actually love an ebook. It sounds kind of boring, but I love an ebook when it's tailored for a very specific niche and audience. One of our mutual clients, Mark Hansen, who I know you just had on the podcast recently, he and I partnered together on an ebook for his firm. And he actually came up with the title. He's so creative. His ebook is "What the Heck Are You Thinking?" And so it's kind of in this response to all these TikTok finance hacks that people share that really distract people from the big picture when it comes to their finances. And he tells this great story throughout the ebook of this couple that ends up making really good financial decisions. So I love an ebook when it's creative and it's not just like, this is my planning process or whatever it might be. Something that really is entertaining and also helps somebody achieve some particular result or do something. So I love an ebook.
Okay. Yeah. And if you didn't listen to the Mark Hansen episode, please go back and do that. And you and I both feel this way. He is the future of financial services. What he's doing, how he's doing it, how he's looking at marketing, how he's positioning himself in the marketplace. This young man, he's actually not that young, but luckily he's younger than me, so I think I can say that, is so ahead of his time that the foundation that he's building today is actually going to be the foundation that all of you are going to have to get on board with. If not, he's going to be eating all of your lunches. And I love ebooks too. Okay, so you said ebooks. I'm going to say white paper. But it has to have the same level of specificity that you were just talking about, Hillary. This is wildly important, that it needs to be so majorly niche focused, because if not, then it's just going to be another. What we don't want you to do is make more noise. We want you to rise above the noise, right? That's what we want you to do here at ProudMouth. So ebook, white paper, please don't ask people as part of your immediate nurture sequence to schedule a call with you. They're not ready for that yet. Driving everybody to a free 15-minute consultation, it's such a huge ask. They need to like, know, and trust, and then opt into that phase instead of you driving to them to that phase. So, all right. Anything else that I missed there, sister?
No, this was such a fun conversation. Thank you for having me.
Man, I love nerding out with you. I had so much fun on your show. Oh, pitch your show. No, you need to tell everybody about your show.
Oh, right. I always forget. The show is relatively new. I launched it in March, so it's not like, top of brain, but it's called the Finance Marketing Podcast. I love to sit down with experts like Matt and also with financial advisors and coaches themselves to talk about what they're doing with their marketing that's working and that's unique, and just kind of share so that other people can learn from you. So, yeah.
I thought it's a great show. I've seen your guest lineup that you've already posted because I follow you on social, and just great actionable stuff. Listen, what you have to do as a financial services professional is find people who you feel a genuine connection with, which is really why we interview people like Hillary to come on the Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. Our goal is to introduce you to as many marketing people as you can, because marketing is the key to the future for your practice. I was just on a show earlier today, the Mill Money Podcast, and it's Lacey is the person who runs that show. It's a long-standing show. She's actually done almost as many episodes. Actually, I think she's done more than us. But that was one of the things that we really dove into today, is the idea of marketing, the fact that you have to do it no matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. And if you do it and you start early, it's only going to yield better results for you. So Hillary, thank you very much for being on the show. We're going to make sure that we have all of those links in our show notes, of course. And for those of you who are listening, please make sure that you just get on your phone and click on the links in the show notes. If you're on our YouTube channel, it's going to be right down below in the summary or the description of the YouTube video. And then last but not least, if you know anybody who needs to hear this, it's super easy. All you have to do is click that share button and send this to other financial services professionals who you think, you know what, they need to talk to Hillary, because you're darn right, tootin' they do. All right, so for all of us here at ProudMouth and for Hillary, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.